Good afternoon, students.
Good afternoon, sir.
Let us wait for a few more minutes, ma. Let's other join. Before going into class, I want to give some statement. So by tomorrow, we are going to complete recording to Exim Bank. With that, we are going to complete 3 units. And further, I don't want to continue the session because you are going to write the first internal examination in the month of December 14th. So what I was thinking means let us have a brief discussion regarding to first and second units. What you are going to say, ma? Give me your opinion.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anand. Thanks for your response. But I have not received any response from the girls' side. No one has given any impression. Okay, thank you, ma. So uh, from day after tomorrow, once again we are going to revise the topics. Their brief explanation will be there, but not detailed explanation. If you are having any doubt, let us have an open discussion. If you need any point to be cleared over, clarified over, then definitely I will be saying over. Still, if you want any topics to be discussed over, then please bring kindly to my notice, then I will be discussing. Okay, ma? And forward this message to your friends also. Once again, I will be sending the same message in WhatsApp groups. But if any student have not turned up into the WhatsApp group, please pass the information so that they will be also attending the session. Thank you, ma. And I don't think number of students will turn today. Okay, before going to start the session, let us have a small video regarding to the Exim Bank.
In today's world of rapid globalization, an Indian institution continuously strives to help companies to break down the barriers, turning possibilities to opportunities. Initially, when the Exim Bank of India began, it started by serving the export credit needs of an evolving market. Then, seeing the potential of globalization, it introduced a comprehensive range of lending and service programs. Exim Bank of India was set up in 1981 under an Act of Parliament. It is owned wholly by the Indian government and managed by a board of directors with representation from the government, the RBI, commercial banks and trade and industry experts.
Since inception in 1981, the Export-Import Bank of India has been playing the role of a catalyst in financing, facilitating and promoting the exports from India.
Today, with offices in 10 Indian cities and 7 foreign destinations, Exim Bank of India has come a long way and enjoys a strong global presence. Fired by the vision of a progressive global economy, it is the very catalyst and an essential ingredient in India's international trade. Exim Bank of India consciously supports globalization efforts of Indian companies by providing services for all stages of the export business cycle. It therefore stands on 3 core pillars: that of a financer, facilitator, and promoter of foreign trade. The bank has developed a comprehensive range of products and services to serve the Indian trade community. These are evenly distributed across the bank's major programs, which are broadly divided under export credit, term loans to export-oriented units, value-added services. Under each of these broad heads are multiple programs that are more intensely objective-focused. In order to overcome one of the biggest challenges that exporters face, namely credit risks, Exim Bank of India acts as a risk mitigator through its unique program called Lines of Credit. It offers Indian exporters a safe mode of non-recourse financing option and serves as an effective market entry tool. It also allows the borrower a relatively longer tenure to repay. Exim Bank of India pioneered with a program to support project exports. Over the years, project exports have showcased the growing sophistication of Indian exporters, their technical expertise and execution capability in the overseas markets. They have proved to be entry points for Indian firms to execute overseas contracts. Exim Bank of India extends funded and non-funded facilities for overseas turnkey projects, civil construction contracts, technical and consultancy service contracts as well as supplies. In fact, the bank continues to support both greenfield units as well as brownfield expansions, upgradations and modernizations to facilitate overseas projects. To promote and encourage project exports, the bank has introduced Buyer's Credit under the Indian government's National Export Insurance Account, NEIA. It is a unique program that allows exporters to avail deferred credit on projects. Let's take a look at how it works. Beginning with the approval process, the cycle begins with the Indian exporter approaching for the credit and completes itself with the signing of the commercial contract. After this comes the contract execution and disbursement. As a result, thanks to Exim Bank, the last thing exporters have to worry about project exports is finance. When it comes to overseas investment finance, Exim Bank of India acts not just as a trade facilitator, but as a visionary. That is why it is not just about money, but about the optimal use of finance for growth. It helps exporters get access to foreign markets, acquire companies, form joint ventures, buy brands outright and more. Not just that, the bank selectively extends term loans with up to 80% of equity investments in overseas joint ventures. However, what makes Exim Bank of India a true visionary is that it envisages economic empowerment and not just economic progress. Therefore, as a guiding principle, it works with the entire spectrum of the economy. While on one hand, Exim Bank of India nurtures micro, small and medium enterprises. On the other, it forms the backbone of the evolved businesses in this sector. Thereby converting opportunities into realities, creating more and more employment opportunities, opening up the global market for a lot more and not just a select few. The bank's spectrum in the sector of MSMEs goes far beyond direct financial products. It also provides a wide range of indirect assistance like refinance facility to commercial banks in foreign currency. It has also put in place a special technology and innovation enhancement and infrastructure development fund to meet the capital expenditure of Indian exporters. With its grassroots business initiatives, Exim Bank of India contributes to revitalizing local communities by creating of export capability in grassroots enterprises, increasing the purchasing power of bottom of the pyramid, ripple effect benefit to other sectors of the economy, and poverty reduction through export linkage. Exim Bank also finances the production of films, and its success at financing Bollywood films has led to prestigious assignments.
I am the coach of the Indian national women's team. मुझे states के नाम ना सुनाई देते हैं, ना दिखाई देते हैं. सिर्फ एक मुल्क का नाम सुनाई देता है, India.
शरद पवार एक ऐसा शख्स है जो आपके लिए अपनी जान भी दे देगा.
From financial products, let us move on to what services Exim Bank of India offers as a facilitator. Through its marketing advisory services, Exim Bank of India helps to locate overseas buyers, distributors and partners to build sustainable overseas trade links. Once again, it proves to be a catalyst for foreign trade. Exim Bank even stands as a guarantor to raise capital. Apart from its role as a facilitator, Exim Bank of India also acts as a promoter. When it comes to offering consultancy services, Exim Bank is uniquely placed. It is a key financial institution which is able to synthesize the needs of a newly industrialized economy with the contemporary experiences of developed and developing countries. The bank is registered as a consulting organization with the World Bank, Asian Development Bank and African Development Bank. It has rendered assistance to a number of institutions in the developing world, and its assignments include various pre-feasibility studies under Commonwealth Secretariat funded projects, feasibility study for the establishment of an export credit and guarantee facility for Gulf Cooperation Council countries, setting up an Exim Bank in Malaysia, establishing an export credit guarantee company in Zimbabwe, designing of export financing programs in Turkey and South Africa. The Nigerian Exim Bank approached Exim Bank of India to share its know-how so that it too can support the Nigerian film industry, Nollywood, which is the third largest in the world after Hollywood and Bollywood. The bank has forged many institutional linkages with financial institutions, trade promotion agencies and information suppliers to foster the businesses of Indian exporters and help identify new business propositions. As a regular practice, it also facilitates workshops to keep its customers abreast of the changing global scenario and trade practices. Its network partners include Japan Bank for International Cooperation, Commonwealth Secretariat, JETRO, CBI Netherlands and CFTRI. In its Eximus centers for learning at Bangalore, Pune and Ahmedabad, the bank educates and informs the Indian business community of the developments in international trade. The Research and Analysis Group comprises of expert economists and strategists who study international economics and trade to provide useful information to Indian exporters. It regularly publishes papers on various relevant topics and even undertakes market research on behalf of companies. The bank even institutionalized an annual award in 1989 to promote research in international economics. Exim Bank's International Economic Research Award is given to Indian nationals for doctorate theses. To promote intelligent discourses on the subjects of trade and global economics, the bank has been organizing its flagship event, the Commencement Day Annual Lecture, since 1986. It's a milestone program in the events calendar of Mumbai. Exim Bank of India's role is very structured and defined by the bank's objectives and strengths, which include promoting, financing, and facilitating India's international trade and investment, international focus, domain expertise, and experience in major export markets. As a result, Exim Bank comes across as a warm, confident, and customer-centric partner to success and growth. So what does Exim Bank of India actually do?
Exim Bank's mission is to promote globalization of Indian exports. I invite all prospective and existing businesses to engage with the bank, and we will work jointly with you to globalize your product, your company, while India also evolves and grows.
Exim Bank of India, partnering growth, globalizing India. For queries, contact us at www.exim.
Right, ma? So today our concept is Exim Bank, Export and Import Bank. Okay, first of all, see me. When a company goes for exporting, today I will not explaining much. Today just a discussion part. When a company goes for exporting,
Expanding, sir. Expanding the business. For foreign currency, sir.
for foreign currency, very good. For expanding the business opportunity, very good. But once again, try to understand my question. When a company goes for exporting, for what purpose it is going, I am not asking. At what time it will be going for exporting? Think over. Any more answers? Only two students have given. What about others?
When it has more than enough products.
Yes, you are in correct channel. Please go on.
Yeah, when it has more than enough products, when there is a chance to provide to other countries also, they will export, sir.
Right. Thank you, ma. Relevant answer. Okay, in order to understand this particular topic, let me give one simple example so that easily you can understand over. Okay, uh, I think you are having a habit of bringing carriage for colleges. Okay, if on one fine day you have bought only two idlis to the college, only two idlis, can you share with your class?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
No. Okay, at least can you share with your friend?
No, sir.
No, because the two idlis are not enough for sharing purpose. Just it can consumed by yourself. Okay, on one another fine day, if you have brought 6 to 8 idlis, now you say, can you offer them for your friend?
Yes, sir. Sure.
Yes, yes. Okay, once again, on one fine day, if you have bought 15 to 20 idlis, then definitely you can share with your class. And on another fine day, if you have bought thousands of idlis, don't think that you are having any idli factory just for sake of understanding. So if you have bought more and more idlis, then entire college that you can share over. That means not only for your particular class, but also with another classes you can share over. So here, when any company is going for globalization, there are four stages. Those are called as ethnocentric, polycentric, regionocentric, and geocentric approaches. So, when a company will be turned to globalization means first and foremost thing, the first stage was domestic company. That means you are trading only regionally. That means within four boundaries that you are trading your activities. When your production has excess than demand, what our friend has said, when you are having more production, but here more production means when production has excess than the demand in that particular country, then the country will be choosing an option called as exporting. And when a company wants to expand its branches, then it will be going for multinational. If a company uses a standardization, then a company goes for globalization. So this is the process of going globally. Why particularly here I have explained uh, globalization concept means here in this particular video at the end that particular CEO has said that export bank will be helping the country to grow globally. So that is the major reason why I have brought the concept globalization. Okay, anyhow, as I have brought the concept of globalization, can anyone try to remember when this concept of globalization has entered into our country? In which particular year? I will be giving a little clue. New economic policy or new industrial policy. In which year, ma? Any guess?
1990s, sir.
Very good. But particularly, of course, it's 1990.
1991.
Right. Thank you, ma. Thank you, Jyoti. Yes. New industrial policy of 1991. At the time of P.V. Narasimha Rao as a prime minister, as well as Manmohan Singh as financial minister, the concept of LPG, liberalization, privatization, and globalization concept has been happened. Then India has started to grow globally, and multinational companies also started to come and trade in India. And once again, here I want to make a sharp point here. Up to 1991, Indian companies doesn't have any R&D department in their particular company. I think you are aware regarding to the management process, top level, middle level, and lower level. The middle level will be concentrating regarding to departmental uh, activities, production, finance, marketing, sales, research and development, HR. So here, before 1991, our Indian companies they don't have any R&D department, but after 1991, when multinational companies they have started and executing their functions, after seeing their working, our Indian companies also started to turn up a department called as R&D department. This is just for general knowledge, ma. Okay, once again here, why India has to export products and import products?
For foreign currency, sir.
Foreign currency. Only for the sake of foreign currency? Only one student is giving answer. What about others? Our friend has said for the sake of foreign currency. But still you can search for more answers.
Demand.
Demand. What demand? What does it mean? Can you please expand your answer? Still any more answers? Why? A country, not only India, but a country, it has to go
For
for export and import. Yes, please.
economic growth.
Already you have said for foreign currency. Foreign currency, it is indirectly related to economic growth. But I need the major thing,
For good relation.
good relations, very good. Still,
For for investment in foreign.
for investment in foreign. Uh, I think you are really concentrated regarding to the foreign currency. Uh, you are turning regarding to only that particular point, but really very good. But still the major thing. What about Nusrat, Jaha? What happened today? Why you are not giving any answers? Okay, ma. Let me ask another question so that you will be giving answer. What are the factors of production?
Sir, to increase the supply or demand.
Okay, to increase supply and demand. Very good. Still someone is giving answer.
Factors of production: land,
Hmm.
labor,
Hmm.
capital,
Hmm.
and organization.
Yes. Management. Yes, very good. There are so many factors of production: land, labor, capital. Okay. In order, without these factors of production, that means without these things, a production concept will be not happen. So here a company will be requiring some sort of resources. And once again, in our country, can you say that all resources are available at one particular point?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No. Is that true? So let me ask another good question. So today we are having transportation facility in our country. For that, which is the major thing that has to be happen, ma? In order to have transportation?
Fuel, petrol,
Fuel.
fuel, sir.
Yes, fuel. It might be a petrol, gasoline, whatever the thing. India is not self-sufficient regarding to this petrol or diesel. Then definitely we have to be dependent on another country. Is that true?
Yes,
Right?
sir.
So particularly for the sake of raw materials or for the sake of resources. Once again, whenever I am saying resource means don't think only raw material. It might be technological resource, it might be human resource, because technology, US, it was an advanced country, and it was technologically very developed country, but it is not having that much human resource. Here human resource means don't take only the birth rate, the technology oriented skills. For that reason it has been dependent on India. See, whenever the Trump, he has said that immigration from India will be stopped over, means all top IT companies, they have objected. They have said that we have to shut down our companies. So definitely here resources means it might be finance, it might be human resource, it might be raw material. So first and foremost thing, export and imports will be happen for the sake of raw materials, because we are not self dependent. And once again, here I want to ask another question. Here goods are of two kinds. Goods are of two kinds. Can you say what are those two?
Intermediate goods and finished goods, sir.
Okay, still, Sarah, can you give?
No, sir.
No? Okay.
Semi-finished.
Okay. I think in business organization, your sir has said over, but you have forgotten. Okay. Particularly, goods have been classified into two, ma. Capital-oriented
Economic.
goods. Oh, okay, okay. Let me clear. It is capital-oriented goods, consumer-oriented goods. Capital-oriented goods, consumer-oriented goods. Have you got through these 2 points? Capital
Yes,
oriented
sir.
goods, right? Then can anyone say India is self sufficient in what kind of goods? India is self sufficient in what kind of goods? Okay, in order to get this
Consume.
answer, right, thank you. Okay, in order to get this answer, once again, let us make another question in order to find out this answer. Okay, there are three services. Sorry. Okay, so here there are three things: agriculture sector, industrial sector, service sector in our country. So there are three sectors: agricultural, industrial, service sector. In India, which sector has upper hand?
Agriculture.
Agriculture.
Agriculture, sir.
Agriculture. So at the same time, India is underdeveloped or developing or developed?
Developing, sir.
Developing.
Developing, right? Someone has elaborated developing. Very good. So why we are saying as developing but not developed?
Sir, if agriculture sector plays major role in country, then it will be developing, sir. If service sector or industrial sector has more percentage, then it will be developed country, sir.
Whenever industrial sector plays a vital role, then we can say it is a developed, but not service sector, because service sector in some areas it will be generating income, in some other sectors it will be generating a minute part of income. Okay, anyhow, very good answers. So in India now also, after post independence period, still major number of people, their occupation was agriculture, right? So here we are dependent on consumer oriented goods but not capital oriented goods. Capital oriented goods are those goods which are helpful for reproduction of another goods. For this purpose, our Sri Narendra Modi Garu, he has said that made in India concept. That means whatever that you are supposed to make, made in India only. But it will be 100% not possible now itself, because there so many things has to be happen. But anyhow, between this period, definitely we can say that the capital sector, the capital oriented goods sector has also increased over. Very good example, take Kia Motors. Kia Motors. So they are also providing capital goods. And at the same time, so many companies have started production regarding to capital oriented. Once again, near Vorvakal, Jain industry, they have also started regarding to capital oriented, like this. Okay. Uh, so our country is self-sustained regarding to consumer goods, but not capital-oriented goods. So when we are not sufficient regarding to capital-oriented goods, then what will be happening means more imports will be happen. More imports will be happen. So that what will be happen? Foreign currency will be moved out. So that the decrease in rupee value will be happen and increase in dollar rupee has will be happen. For that purpose, encouragement of exports will be happen over. Okay, why we are taking dollar as exchange mode? There are so many countries and so many currencies. Why India it has taken dollar as exchange? Why not yen? Why not pound? Any answer, ma? There are so many currencies: euros, pounds, yens. But why India has taken only dollar? Dollar as medium. Please, ma. Time is running over. Okay.
Sir, don't know, sir.
Okay, thank you, ma. There was no answer. Not only India, ma. At Bretton Woods Committee, that means at World Trade Organization, in that days, all the countries they have accepted post currency transaction as a medium of dollar. This not happened now. It was at that time, at the time of establishing of World Trade Organization. There, so many countries they have given acceptance as post currency transactions will be in the medium of dollar itself. So one medium has to be happen for the exchange. Once again, here European countries they're interrelated, they will be trading with euros, but the entire current country all over worldwide, dollar will be playing as medium for transaction. Okay, that is the thing. And here once again I want to ask one question: balance of payments. What do you mean by balance of payments? Have you heard this particular one, balance of payments?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Then what does it mean?
Equal amount, sir.
What equal amount? For what purpose?
Sir, I think it is a liability which we have to pay for another country, sir.
Liability? Okay. Of
Ye-
course, in
It
balance
is
of
a
payment.
transaction, sir.
Yes, very good, ma. Of course, whatever you have said, up to some part it is true. In balance of payment, we will be having two: surplus and deficit. Surplus and deficit. So in deficit, then definitely it will be a part of liability on our country in order to pay to another country. Simple thing, ma. In order to understand balance of payment means the difference between export and imports in one particular country regarding to all other countries. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
The difference between export and imports of one particular country to all other countries is called as balance of payment. Okay, when surplus will be happening and when deficit will be happening.
Sir,
When
surplus will
exports,
happen
yeah, please go on. You carry on.
when exports are more than imports, sir.
What will
And
happen?
surplus, sir.
Right. Then
Deficit.
quite opposite, when imports are more than exports, then deficit will be happen. So this is the concept of export and import. And already I have said when a company will be going for export and what is the concept of globalization. So tomorrow I will be saying regarding to export and import functions and objectives. Okay, ma. Once again, those who have joined late, I want to make statement that tomorrow I am ending Exim Bank concept. At the same time, third unit will be completed. After that, just I want to make a halt regarding to fourth unit. Before commencement of the fourth unit, I want to revise regarding to first and second units now because you are going to write the first internal examinations. I don't know how far that you are ready regarding the examination, but as per my part, just I want to revise the things. So if you are having any doubts, before the class itself, one day before itself, I will be giving the topics that will be dealt in the session. So whatever the doubts that you are having regarding to that particular topic or particular point, then you can raise over, then I will be clearing over. Is that okay, ma?
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
Yes,
Okay, ma.
sir.
Still any more doubts, ma? Anything has to be clarified over?
No, sir.
Okay. With that, the session comes to an end, ma. Thank you. Have a great day.